All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. The Hardwood Nation podcast is back with your boy CL Anthony and my main man, Bryce Ward. What's going on, Bryce?
Not much, man. What's going on with you?
Nothing much. Busy morning so far. So, hey, yesterday
Same.
morning, early in the morning, Team USA captured their fourth straight gold medal. How significant is that?
Well, I mean, it's to me, it's like fairly significant. Of course, the thing is, like, people expect Team USA to bring it home, and so usually the bigger story, especially like same with this Olympics, was how they were having problems early on.
Hmm.
Um, so, I mean, it's significant in the sense that they were able to turn around and bring the gold medal home, and for me, I thought that was huge to see them actually uh, get it together a little bit more. Uh, Kudos to Kevin Durant and the rest of those guys for bringing it home, but KD was obviously the most significant player on the court for us, and did a lot of the heavy lifting, especially in the last few games that really counted. So, I mean, he was the best player out there by far, and I'm I'm happy we basically had him to fall back on for a lot of our wins. So kudos to Kevin Durant. You won't hear me say that a whole lot, but because of him, we have another gold medal, and like you said, that's four in a row. So and also kudos to France for basically giving us a great fight. They were more impressed about it than some thought going in, even though I thought they were going to be a pushover. But they were really good against us, and I saw Gobert, with his head down, crying a little bit on the sideline. It's good to see these guys so passionate, playing so hard. So I mean, kudos to all these teams, and I'd like to thank Kevin Durant for bringing us that gold. So, what was your takeaway?
Well, yeah, it was a lot of emotion after the game. Even Durant shed some tears, and I got the notion that the USA were actually surprised that they won the gold medal because, of course, they came together on short notice. These guys had a 2 week training camp in Vegas. My take is never enough time. The international guys in their off season, they're always playing together. So yearly, you have the same teams
Yeah,
play together for 5, 6, 7 years. I mean, Argentina, Luis Scola,
right.
22 years. Pau Gasol in Spain. I think he's hit 20 years of international play. So for us to be able to put a team together in 2 weeks and say, hey, go get us a gold medal, it's tough, even though we do have the greatest athletes in the world as far as basketball is concerned. I am of the opinion that the world hasn't caught up. We just don't have our best guys over there year after year after year. With that said, this team had to deal with that. They had to deal with adversity. They had to deal with Devin Booker, Chris Middleton, and Drew Holiday missing the entire training camp because they were playing in the NBA Finals. So you had to deal with that issue. So they were shocked that they won, but it was rightfully so that they won. And like you said, kudos to Kevin Durant because this was his team, especially coming off
Hmm.
of the failure that the Brooklyn Nets had in the playoffs. This was like a championship to him. Again, I'm in the opinion that a gold medal is more significant than the NBA title. That's just me. That's how I feel about it. And so the emotion, even with Gobert losing, the emotion there, I loved it. I got emotional as I always do when we win the gold medal because that's a proud moment for me. But Team USA, they have some things that they need to fix. They need to get 2 to 3 year commitment from these guys going forward. Like it just has to be that way because we're allowing the notion that the world has caught up due to our preparation or lack thereof preparation. And that's what the main issue is. But again, not taking anything from the team, kudos to them. Uh,
I I agree though that the notion that the rest of the world is caught up to us. Initially, I was thinking, yeah, but in hindsight, I don't think so because, like you said, a lot of these teams they've been playing together for years. A lot of these guys they play in the NBA, and some of them, especially like France, the bigger name players, they're getting older. Um, I'm not seeing like a replacement players like you said, the Spaniard team, and yeah, they play great as a team, but we threw. like some of our best players over there, and some really are the best in the league. But we didn't throw all of our best players at them
Right.
with
Right.
like a month's notice of playing time, maybe, and we still walked away with the gold.
Right.
And we were expected to still win despite everything being stacked against us. Like, there's definitely some stars on some of these other teams, and the teams have better continuity.
Hmm.
But if we had any kind of similarity towards like what they have in terms of players and how long they play together, it would be mass destruction every single time.
Correct.
The only reason the gold medal has significance to me is because like it's once every 4 years. If it was once every year, I don't think people would care as much because I mean USA dominates.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's harder to win an NBA title than it is to win a gold medal because there's a lot of our best players that never win championships that are going to have gold medals. I mean, Carmelo Anthony is one of the greatest USA team members of all time. And up to this point, he doesn't have an NBA championship. So I would almost argue that it's harder to win an NBA championship to win gold just because we're in America, though. Um, like we have the best basketball
Yeah.
nonstop year round. So, but
I
yeah,
didn't say
I
it
don't
was
think the rest
harder.
of the world's caught up to us.
Yeah, I didn't say it was harder to win an NBA championship. I said the
Mhm.
gold medal is more significant. I agree with you that when going through an 82 game season and then going through a grueling playoffs is that's the tougher route. But on a world scale significance level, the gold medal to me is more significant than that NBA championship. Um, I would like to say kudos to Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, and Devin Booker because what they did was absolutely fantastic, especially Middleton and Drew. The night after the championship game, they're on a plane flight with Booker to head over to Tokyo. So kudos to those three guys for pulling that off. Moving right along, we've had a busy free agency week. Some teams made some moves, some teams stayed flat for the most part. Tell me about the Chicago Bulls. They got Lonzo Ball and they got DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, I mean, I think they they hit like a home run in free agency, basically. I thought on paper they were going to be a little bit better than they finished the season up last year with Vucevic, but apparently it's still wasn't quite what they were hoping for. And we've talked about Lonzo moving on from the Pelicans a number of times, and I don't know if I ever thought about a landing spot being Chicago for him, but I think it's a perfect fit.
Mhm.
Basically, he can take the ball out of Zach LaVine's hands a little bit and let him do more of the shooting guard role like he should be. I'm not saying he's not playing amazing. I'm just saying like now he might be able to be more effective scoring wise just because he's not having to control the offense a lot. So, and Lonzo Ball has proved he can run an offense efficiently, and he's improved his shot greatly, his 3 point shot especially. So, I think he adds like a pretty dynamic weapon to that team. Plus, having the experience of DeRozan to kind of be able to clean up when the rest of the team isn't playing as well. Like you can kind of go to DeRozan, and for the most part, he knows how to get you a bucket. Um, and I don't know. I just really like the choices they made. And I think they fit really well with the two stars they already have, being Levine and Vucevic. And Vucevic can basically play with anybody and be
Yeah,
effective. So,
yeah, yeah.
um, like his play style is just suits a lot of these play styles that other teams are running now, especially the three ball and stuff. So, I just think all around they pretty much were perfect in free agency and got the things that the team greatly needed. I think they're definitely in the playoffs next year.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Are you surprised that the Brooklyn Nets? I mean, they signed Patty Mills, but are you surprised that they really didn't make a splash in free agency?
No, I think they like everyone probably knows how effective they can be if they're just all hands on deck. Everybody healthy, and you have to think that way, or else why do you even have those players? So um, I think they're just trying to bank on having more cohesiveness this year. Harden already has, because he came in halfway or close to halfway last year, something like that. So they should only get better, in my opinion. And if they're healthy, there's a good chance they're. I mean, they should be in the Eastern Conference Finals and Finals if they're healthy. I expect just a brawl next year between them and Milwaukee because I fully expect Milwaukee to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals too. Um, so I'm not surprised that they didn't do anything splashy. And I don't even know if they could. I mean, they have all their money tied up anyway. So what are they going to do? I'm not surprised at all.
Well, they could have got some of the vets that the Lakers got, so we're gonna dig into that because one thing that the Lakers did, of course, when they traded for Russell Westbrook, we were like, okay, the only thing they can do now is sign a bunch of minimum guys, and boy, did they sign a bunch of minimum guys. So you have the shooters in Wayne Ellington, Malik Monk, Trevor Ariza, who is also a 3 and D guy. Then you brought Melo, who's going to be a dead eye spot up shooter at this point in his career. You got Dwight Howard, who was a mobile big who won a championship with the Lakers 2 years ago. Right now on paper, and I'm not talking about what these guys did 10 years ago, still today, right now on paper, the Lakers have the best team in the NBA. Do you agree or disagree?
If healthy, I'd say probably. It's pretty close to a toss up to me. But I'd say they edge out everybody maybe just a little bit because of the championship pedigree of LeBron. LeBron's like knowledge of how to navigate things. I mean, I know he can disappear at times or give up on the team when like he pretty much knows all hope is lost. Like I've seen him quit, but overall, he's the most knowledgeable on how to win a championship. I think in the league and probably in a long time. So I have faith in what the Lakers did and him being able to navigate the waters in the playoffs to kind of get there. And I know Davis and LeBron both had injury issues last year. But overall, LeBron definitely tends to have less injury issues than a lot of the other guys. Anthony Davis has been hit or miss his whole career. So I do think I give the Lakers a slight edge in being the favorites right now. And I mean, I made the mistake of calling them the favorites last year too. I mean, we both did, I think, and I think we overestimated the strength of what they did in free agency last year. I thought they were going to be a better team than the championship year, and of course, that wasn't the case. They got rid of all those guys, but I think the way they reloaded and they kind of did it brilliantly. Like they didn't give anybody else a chance to get these guys because they scooped them all up in like the first day that they could, almost. Like they had their free agency done, most of it in like the first early parts of the day. Like it was done. They signed all these people, and you were hearing about it for the most part. So, um, I think they also hit a home run in free agency. Like they got their shooting. It's all veteran stuff, but that's I mean if you have Russell Westbrook there now to help carry some of the load of the regular season, I think it alleviates some of the pressure for everybody. And so maybe that helps them into the playoffs without a ton of people hurt, you know. But we're going to have to see how the season goes. We're going to have to see how the team flows because that's going to put pressure on LeBron and Davis to either play more or play less. So we talked about having less a slightly backseat role compared to what Westbrook and Davis should be able to do because LeBron, of course, is getting older. And but if the team's not gelling for a while and it takes them a little bit, I think we're going to see LeBron, out there a little bit more. So it'll be
Yeah,
interesting to see how the team plays together. But Melo, there's a lot of these guys that they just know how to play with everybody, so it's not going to matter anymore. What
right.
I
And
think is interesting is this is Dwight Howard's third trip to LA separate times. I was
I
like,
thought about
come
that
on,
too.
just stay there or
Just
something.
stay
Come
there.
on.
Yeah, I thought about that
Uh,
too. Right.
but yeah,
One
yeah, I give the Lakers a slight edge, but that's just me.
one thing about LeBron, even when we both say LeBron needs to take a step back, what we mean is he doesn't need to average 26, 27 points a game, he can still scale it back down to 20 points a game, raise his assists, raise his rebounds, and he'll be
Mhm.
effective. So, for example, instead of Russell Westbrook going for a triple double for the season, LeBron could easily do that. So that could be something that he could focus on this year as well. Okay, so injuries aside, 1 through 15, the Lakers still have the better team than Brooklyn, because outside of those three guys on Brooklyn, there's really nothing else. Those three guys are deadly. Don't get me wrong, but outside of them, there's nothing else. This is nothing. Blake Griffin's not going to win you a series. Patty Mills is not going to win you a series. Um, so to all my Brooklyn lovers out there, it is what it is. Show me. I say that. Show me. So the Miami Heat made a couple of big moves as well. They kind of struck early, like the Lakers did. So the Heat acquired Kyle Lowry. They acquired, forgive me, I'm drawing blanks now. Markieff Morris. They also acquired PJ Tucker, which was a surprise for me. How effective do you think the Heat will be in the Eastern Conference, bolstering their roster to take a shot? And I'm not saying defeat, but to at least take a better shot at Milwaukee or Brooklyn.
Well, I think walking into the season, like having a seasoned veteran point guard is going to do wonders for your team compared to last year, where the experiment was let's have Tyler Hero run the offense for a little bit. Like you basically had nobody. What was it? Dragic was like still injured
Well,
or
Dragic was coming off
not
the bench.
playing as many minutes.
Yeah, he was coming off the
Right.
bench. Yeah.
It's like basically you didn't have a main starting point guard. And so, I mean, obviously, that's going to bring tons of consistency. He can hit shots. He knows what he's doing. That's a huge get. The rest of the other signings is just defense and three-point shot. I guess kind of your 3-and-D basic. But you needed that. You needed to get some of your shooting back. I don't know based on how this last year went, if that's enough to get you guys back into the conference finals. Also, the biggest question mark for me, because like I said, I think Lowry brings nothing but consistency. There's not as many question marks there, like with him fitting in with the team to me, but something that I think could put you guys over the top would be Oladipo being completely healthy and being able to play like what we've seen he's been able to do before, and combo that with everybody playing the way they should. I mean, Bam seemed to underwhelm a little bit last year. Butler's gonna do what Butler does. Robinson, they paid him, but what you're getting out of him: consistent 3-point shooting, spacing, all those things. Tyler Hero is a question mark going forward, whether or not he can be effective. But overall, I think you guys look a lot better. I just don't know if with Milwaukee riding high off this championship and Brooklyn being healthy, if it's enough to beat those teams and get into the conference finals. Because right now, that's who I think is going to the Eastern Conference Finals. But you guys are definitely got a lot better and could surprise one of these teams because you have the playoff pedigree. A lot of the guys that you have on your team know how to play in the playoffs. So never count the Heat out, never. But right now, I think they're just like a small step behind. And I'm not, it's just because those other two teams are like that good right now to me. But I think you guys are right there behind them in the Eastern Conference.
Here's my concern about free agency right now. Milwaukee deserved the championship. Some people would say they got lucky. They deserved the championship. They went out there, they took it from Phoenix, okay? Giannis was an absolute monster. So they're the champions until someone beats them. Now, they did sign George Hill, a veteran point guard who played for them in years past. Brooklyn, like I said, they signed Patty Mills. They lost Jeff Green to Denver, and he did okay in the playoffs, but they only signed Jeff. Forgive me, I can't think right now. They only signed really Patty Mills.
Mm-hmm.
When you see other teams around you, like the Lakers, like Chicago, make sweeping moves. Even Miami, we got rid of 5 players. You can't stay pat. You have to find a way to improve your team, even though you won a championship, or even though, as far as Brooklyn, you made it to the second round.
Mhm.
If I'm Brooklyn, if I'm Milwaukee, I'm scared shitless of what the Los Angeles Lakers just did. I'm not a Laker fan. I'm not a LeBron James fanboy, but we both know basketball. And the way that that team is constructed right now is one of the most deadly teams I have ever seen in my life. Because I'm not
Mhm.
worried about 3 guys. But when the Lakers have a legit 7 guys that can impact the game at multiple facets, that's scary to me. Um, I was telling Kevin, because Kevin brought up, well, the Suns, they kept their team and they're deep as hell. And they are deep as hell. But I told Kevin, I say, consider this: Russell Westbrook, um, Wayne Ellington, who's a knockdown 3 point shooter, Trevor Ariza, who's a knockdown 3 point shooter, um, Dwight Howard at the center, and I forgot there's another guard that the Lakers have. You can put that lineup on as your second lineup for the Lakers, and you'll run through the league. You just let Westbrook be Westbrook and surround him with all those shooters, and let Dwight Howard, who is still a decent player, control the paint. Are you kidding me? I didn't even mention LeBron James or Anthony Davis.
Right.
So when those guys are
Or
taking
Carmelo, who
Melo,
like
forgive me,
he's
that
not
was the other player.
effective like he used to be, but still you can give him the
Right,
ball
right,
and
that
he can do his thing.
right. That was the other player. Forgive me. So you have Russell Westbrook running the point, Wayne Ellington, Trevor Ariza, Carmelo Anthony, and Dwight Howard. Let's just say that's your bench, even though we know Westbrook's
Yep.
going to start. But even if that's your bench, that bench right there, if that was a starting 5, they will give you 20 games. Like, no shit. If that
Mhm.
was a starting 5 in the NBA, they would win 20 games. So this team that the Lakers has constructed, don't get me wrong, it's on LeBron and it's on the coach to get everybody to play together. You see how I said LeBron first, because we all know he's the coach. It's on those guys to figure out how to play together. Outside of
Mhm.
Kyrie, Durant, and James Harden, you don't have anyone else that can match up with the Lakers right now. Now, like I said, those 3 guys are uber impactful. Kevin Durant's the greatest player in the world right now. But
Mhm.
3 guys ain't gonna beat 15. I don't care how I don't care how good you are. So as far as Brooklyn, they're gonna have to show me. They were injured last year. The Lakers were injured last year. Outside of the 12 players that was on this Olympic roster, everybody's getting their first off season in 2 years.
Mhm.
All right. So that's gonna cut down some injuries right there. That's going to cut down some of the tiredness from the Lakers or from the Miami Heat that we saw when they sputtered in the first round this year. So all I'm going to say is I'm not saying Brooklyn's not going to win it, but I'm just saying Brooklyn and Milwaukee need to take note to the changes that's going on around them. Because I think
Mhm.
even with Miami, I'm not saying Miami's going to win the championship, but with the moves Miami made, I told you the other day that was a direct shot at Milwaukee. And hell, we even took one of their guys and tried to take another one in Bobby Portis Jr. So I'm scared shitless if I'm Brooklyn or Milwaukee. I'll put it like that. But again, Milwaukee's the
Mhm.
champs. They're the champs until someone takes it from them.
Yeah. Like that confidence off that championship run, that's gonna bleed in the next season.
Hmm.
Giannis might put up another MVP type season. I mean,
Yeah,
legitimately.
yeah, yeah.
So and the guys that they did keep, they're only gonna be better as a team. I don't think, and adding George Hill is just more point guard consistency. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, they lost a few guys, but George Hill is like to me kind of equal to one of the guys they lost.
Hmm.
I think they did lose a couple like role players that were definitely important, but I don't think they took like a huge step back. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I think some of the consistency they have plus confidence can kind of compensate for some of that. So, I expect them to have like a great regular season, and for Giannis to put up monster numbers.
Hmm.
Um, so and like you said, until they get beat, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt where I see them in the conference finals.
Got it.
Um, the Lakers just look amazing on paper, and
Hmm.
people can say whatever they want, but on paper, they look like they have the most experience. And if they're healthy, with Russell Westbrook like powering the season, which we know he can do,
Hmm.
um, I fully expect them, if they're healthy, to be in the conference finals. And if he put together a consistent season where he's there the whole time, I'd really like to see him kind of step up, show things. But that's a big if on if he's healthy. They do those things. I don't see reason why they're not in the championship.
Yeah, we haven't seen a season like
We'll just have
this
to see, I
where
guess.
yeah, we haven't seen a season like this to where a few teams made massive overhauls at one time since like 2010. It was really the last time we saw this because if you
Yeah.
remember that year, the Knicks reloaded, the Lakers reloaded, the Heat, of course, reloaded with the big three. You had some major players reloading there, and even Dallas, brought in some vets. So we haven't seen a season like this in years, and it's fitting. It's fitting. Right now, LeBron James is sitting at 4 championships. I think with this team, of course, injuries are gonna be a role, gonna play a role. But I think now, with what they did, LeBron may get that elusive six. He might get it, and then that kind of
You think he
changes.
can win two with this
I
team?
think. I think with this team, yes. Oh my God, dude! I'm telling you, I am the hugest fan of the Rock. Don't forget, Wayne Ellington played for the Heat for 3 years. I know what he can do. Trevor Ariza, we've been watching him for years. We know what he can do. Dwight Howard, again, he's not the Dwight Howard of Orlando, but the Lakers don't need that guy. Dwight Howard has been a decent NBA player for the last 3 years. Then you have him on fantasy like one of the last 2 years.
Yeah, and he basically, even not always, it doesn't always come through on the stat sheet
Hmm.
either.
Right,
He's so big, and he's always been mobile for his size, even in his later years. It's still enough to make people think about going to the basket. And
right.
that's all you need, really. You just need him to be a thought about what you're doing for him to
Hmm.
be effective in a sense. He's not flying around blocking shots anymore. Like there's really nobody doing that like at like a super athletic level anymore. That was the size of Dwight Howard or like Anthony Davis earlier in his career. Like those guys were well, Giannis. I take that back. No disrespect to Giannis, but um, you still have to think about Dwight Howard, and so
Yes,
adding him, I think, is good for any team trying to make a playoff run.
right. And then look at the competition you have in the Western Conference. So yes, Denver is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Jamal Murray is actually practicing again, which is crazy to me. 4 months after tearing his ACL, he's practicing now. So you still have Denver. You still have the defending Western Conference champions in Phoenix. But we
Yeah.
know Russell Westbrook has been a Chris Paul killer for the entirety of his career. So Phoenix should look at that and be like, oh boy. Um, and then you also
Mm-hmm.
have Utah, who actually signed. Oh my goodness gracious, they signed a veteran player who's pretty good. I can't remember right now. I'm drawing blanks. So you still have Utah as well. But I
Mm-hmm.
think, and we're gonna wrap it up soon. But if I had to pick a champion today, I'm picking the Los Angeles Lakers, and this is coming from an anti-Laker, an anti-LeBron fanboy. Today, if I had to choose, I'm picking the Los Angeles Lakers. Who would you choose?
Um, to win the championship or not just go to the
No,
championship?
to
To
win the
win,
actual. Yes.
it's a tough question.
Hmm. That's what we do.
Um, if they're healthy, I'm gonna pick the Lakers again. I was wrong last year, but it's like
Everybody
it's
was
really
wrong
hard for
last
me
year.
not to pick them.
Yeah, everybody was wrong last year. We don't care about being wrong. Everybody was
No, I
wrong.
know. It's just like, and look, traditionally, I'm the same as you. I'm not a Lakers fan. I
Right.
grew up hating the Lakers, like a few other teams that I have a lot of disdain for. But I'm not a Lakers fan, and I've respected LeBron's career, but um, I'm not a fanboy, like you said. Um, there's a lot of things he does I don't like,
Hmm.
um, but he has too much experience and know-how, and the rest of this team, the same thing. And I think it would just come down to injuries and who can stay healthy. And that's with a lot of teams. I mean, Brooklyn on paper looks amazing, but I have my doubts about their health or their mental state sometimes. So a lot of it's going to be that. Milwaukee might look the best because they have the youngest bright superstar
Yeah, they have the
that
youngest. Yeah,
can,
yeah.
can fully affect the game. Like Giannis, the difference between him and some of these guys like Devin Booker and Trae Young, he's a big man.
Mhm.
So when he imposes his will defensively, the dude takes 3 steps. He's halfway across the court, and he swallows up guys. I mean, none of these teams have that.
Mhm.
Nobody. So his impact in a game is LeBron-like in terms of what he can do defensively. He's not as good of a passer. He's not as good of a shooter. But when you have him locked in defensively, he he can affect everything. And so it's really hard if he's healthy. That's a big thing, and he's proven he can be healthy. I mean, we thought he was going to miss time in the playoffs, missed like one game, maybe something like
Yeah,
that.
right.
Like the dude's a tank,
Yeah,
and
that was
so that might
incredible.
be what gets you through in the East with the rest of those guys. Who knows? But I think LA wins the championship if they're healthy.
One thing I
I would
want to
love to
leave.
see them in Milwaukee.
Well, I kind of want to see them in Brooklyn just so I can see the Brooklyn fans eat shit. Um, one thing I'll say to wrap it up and leave this with the fans. If you look back at all the teams in the history of the NBA that's won championships, outside of Golden State, it's always one of the older teams that wins. It's a reason for that. So fans are railing on the Lakers right now. Oh, they're so old. Okay, like LeBron said, keep that same energy. I didn't think he should have deleted the tweet, but like he said, keep that same energy because I'm telling you, I have never seen a team with this potential. This they can be special, and I believe they can be special for a couple of years. So that's going to be it for this week's episode of the Hardwood Nations podcast with your boy CL Anthony and Bryce Ward. Hey Bryce, real quick, did you have a player to ask me about this week?
Yeah, actually, I did have a name, and kind of
Shoot.
sticking with the same, I guess, time frame because some of
Hmm.
these players, have a certain allure to me where it's like I knew them at the end of their career and I knew their reputation and stuff, but I didn't really know too much about them in their prime and how effective they were. So I asked you about Reggie Miller before. I'd like to ask you your opinion and I guess clear up some of the questions I have about Gary Payton because that kind of player has always interested me, like his reputation and stuff. Um, and so, yeah, I'd like to hear your opinion on Gary Payton.
Really quick, the first thing that comes to mind is a lockdown defender. He was like a tenacious little bulldog and had a
The
mouth
glove,
on.
right? That was his
Right,
nickname, right?
right,
Okay.
and had a mouth on him. So not only would he demoralize you with his defense, but he would also demoralize you with his mouth. Okay, Gary Payton was fearless. Wasn't the best shooter, but could run the hell out of an offense. Okay, and then with him and Sean Kemp together as a combo, they were a deadly duo, real deadly
Hmm.
duo because he could set you up in impossible ways. He could set you up. So he ended up with the Los Angeles Lakers. They went to the finals and flamed out against the Detroit Pistons. But of course, he finally won the championship with the Miami Heat in 2006. He didn't have
Hmm.
a lot left in the tank, but being a veteran presence at that time, that Pat Riley could trust him with the ball. When we would pull Jason Williams out of the game, it just worked and it clicked. And I mean, just a professional, a leader. Yeah, nothing wrong with the glove. Love him, absolutely love him. He's on my list of people who I'd never say anything bad about. So,
Hmm.
yep,
Okay.
enjoyed watching his
Yeah.
career too. I watched a lot of his. Yeah, Riley loves the glove too. But yeah, I watched a lot of his games.
Yeah, he was always a guy I like. When I really got into watching basketball a lot, I just
Hmm.
saw the end of his career, so I didn't get
Hmm.
to see how effective he was. But
Yeah.
like I played basketball games when I was younger, even before I like knew too much about it. I had like favorite players, and I always liked playing with Seattle, and so I didn't really understand his skill set or what he was
Mm.
about. I just kind of knew the name a little bit, but he was always a player that I found interesting, and I wish I would have been able to watch more and like firsthand and really known what he was able to do in his prime. So yeah, I've always been interested in him.
Very similar, even though Drew was a little bigger, like a little heavier. Peyton was a little taller. He's very similar to Drew Holiday. So the way you see Drew Holiday play is kind of like how Gary Payton played, except for, like I said, Peyton was a little taller and a better defender, but he's similar to that because there's not a player quite like him right now. Maybe Lonzo Ball can get there because they're about the same size, but as of right now, I think he's Drew Holiday is very similar to Gary Payton. So, good question. Thank you, Bryce. So
Mhm.
we're gonna wrap it up this week. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and we will be back sooner than later. Be safe.